guys let us know when you're ready. You're rolling? All right, then we're going to go in 5, 4, 3. Today we're hanging with the man who has to be the best play-by-play commentator in professional wrestling today, my longtime friend, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, welcome aboard.
What you say there, kiddo? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good for an old married man.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You held out a long time. I didn't know you were going to make it. You
Well, I figured if it's either that or die.
did. Well, I'm sure that you're going to be very happy.
Certainly that I am. You know, the one thing that you and I have in common, besides our passion for this business, is that both of us had as a mentor, as play-by-play guy, is the late great Gordon Solie, who certainly set the standard for our business.
Oh yeah. People ask me all the time, who the greatest play-by-play announcer was in the business. I said, well, that's really easy. That's probably the easiest question of all the things in our business to answer is that. And Gordon Solie was the best. And I've always said that the rest of us are playing for number 2.
There you go. There you go. It was always enjoyable working with you and Smokey for the short period of time we had to work down there with Corning. And
Yep.
that kind of took us back to the 60s and the 70s and so.
It was old-time wrestling, and that was the Smoky Mountain, the philosophy of the Florida days, and Eddie Graham and Cowboy Bill Watts in the Mid-South. I felt right at home, and we had a lot of fun and some very unusual high school gyms around the country.
Yes, we did. One of the things I'd like to talk to the people about is they see you as the lead announcer on Raw every week, and of course the head of talent relations for WWE. But you actually got into this business sort of by accident. You went to interview Bill Watts years ago, right, and ended up being part of his company.
Well, I was going to college at Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and we needed a fundraiser for some of our charitable efforts. We're kind of the animal house of our generation there in rural Oklahoma. And when we realized we couldn't drink all the beer on campus, we knew that we had to do something good for the community. We had a wrestling match as a fundraiser. I developed my relationship with Bill Watts and the late Leroy McGurk, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
And of course, the UWF was one of the premier wrestling promotions of the 70s, and so much great talent came out of it.
We had a real good opportunity there to work with a lot of great talents. Watts was a mastermind. When he was on, he was on. And guys like Junkyard Dog and Ted DiBiase and Dick Murdoch and Jim Duggan and, the Freebirds and the Rock and Roll Express, and, Jim Cornette cut his teeth there in that area largely. It was a great experience for me, and it gave me a great product to call, and it just become a fan. I'm still a fan.
Well, that's one of the things, the wrestlers I've talked to today, and I think it's the same thing for the announcers, is you have to have a passion for this business.
Well, there's so many challenges, Les, as you know. Every night's not a sellout. Every night is not a short trip. Every night's not a hotel suite. There's a lot of challenges just in the travel itself. And if you don't stay up mentally and physically for the talent, certainly, you're not going to be a success. And the day that I quit being a fan is the day that I'll move back to Oklahoma and go fishing.
Of course, the business has changed a lot since you and I got into this thing. And I know right now one of the things that WWE is trying to do is settle the product down, because at some point the injury list is longer than the active roster.
The philosophy, I think, is less is more. The fact that our guys, we still want to work hard, want to be prepared, give our fans, our customers, our money's worth, but they've got to get back to the old school logic of telling a better story, utilizing the holes, working in and out of the holes, making it resemble more of an athletic contest than a three-ring circus where it's just flip-flop and fly. The shelf life and the careers of these kids is going to be extended immensely if they just learn the basic fundamentals. And we're teaching and trying to teach that every day. And it's an acquired art, an acquired taste, as you well know.
Yes, absolutely. And, of course, I know what WWE is looking for in developmental talent, in young talent, but I'd like you just to tell the viewing audience, give them your opinion of that.
Well, Les, we always try to find athletes, men and women with high character. Nobody wants to do business with anybody in any walk of life that you don't trust, you don't like, you can't rely on, and they can't tell time. So we like people to have some character and integrity. They don't have to be a giant. I think the size issues have been addressed. Our cruiserweights do very well, and all of them are under 200 pounds. So we're looking for people with a great integrity and character, with athletic ability, and the desire to be the best in their field. And then the final thing, in addition to the athleticism and the athletic ability, is they've got to be a fan of the business. I would much rather invest in kids that are a fan of the business than anybody else on the face of the earth. They know what the challenges are. They know what the rewards are, at least perceived rewards in their view, and it's hard to run them off. If they can live their dream, it also is a very rewarding thing for me as a administrator and as a fan. If you can just help one or two kids get to that promised land, it's a real neat thing.
The truth is that the people who come into our business for the money only usually don't last very long.
Yeah, and I think, quite frankly, that whether it's the NFL or the NBA or the NHL, if you're only there for the paycheck, with all the challenges that face you, with all the bumps in the road that await you, you'll never make it. There's got to be a love of the product, a pure love of the game to get to where you want to go. It's a lot of guys can draw their money and cash their checks and learn to do a few moves and come up with a cute name and nice tights. But the guys that are keepers, that are there day in and day out, have that passion for the product that you can't buy and you can't replicate.
And of course, you have taken on such, you talk about your plate being full, talent relations, and I know preparation for this show each week, because having worked with you in Smokey, I know you come in totally prepared to do your job. At some point, when is Jim Ross going to back off a little bit?
Well, I talk about that every few weeks with my wife, and I'd like to be able to slow down a little bit. I'd like to be a part of the business as long as the business will have me. I'd like to be less than 7 days a week, though, sooner than later. I think in the next couple of years, God willing, and my health stays good, I'd like to slow down a little bit, but I'd like to keep doing Monday Night Raw. I'd like to be able to continue to contribute as I can to the pay-per-views. I love working with the developmental talent, but I also love Oklahoma football, and I love seeing my kids grow up. I love spending time with my wife, and since when you commit to this business, you know how it is.
Yes, I do.
You're in, and so I'm hoping that a couple more years, I might be able to slow down a little bit. I'm trying to build a good staff around me, and I think we've been successful there, and a lot of real good people that work in the talent development and the talent relations department. So, maybe a couple of 3 years, I'll slow down a little bit from the office detail. But, man, I wouldn't want to quit coming to live events for anything in the world. As long as the company will have me and I'm not embarrassing myself or the fans, I want to be around in some role.
How about a quick little plug for the barbecue business and the cookbook business?
Well, we had a cookbook that came out that was on the New York Times bestseller list a couple of years ago. We got another one that's going to be out in May, and we think it's going to be really unique and interesting and fun. I've written a lot of stories about my experiences from as a kid watching wrestling to getting in the business in the 70s, to the Mid-South, the UWF days, my experiences with working for Jim Crockett, working for Ted Turner, working for Vince McMahon. I've worked for some very unique bosses in my life, and I'm writing about them in this cookbook. So that's coming out in May. And our barbecue sauce, which is really a labor of love for my whole family, we think will be out in May and as well. So a lot of neat things are happening, and I'm just real thankful for the opportunities. The fans make those things happen, Les, as you well know. And we can't play before an empty house, and we can't not have viewership on television. We owe everything we have to our fans, and I don't think we say that enough.
I agree with you 100%. It doesn't look like you're going to slow down anytime in the next century, the way it sounds to me. But I want to say this, having known Gordon Solie as well as I did, that I think he would be proud that you're carrying the mantle for him on now. And Jim, you bring a lot of respect and a lot of love to this business, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much, and the same goes for you. And I've always enjoyed working with you, and the things you do there in HWA are wonderful. And the kids got a great teacher, and you're doing some great things, and we're keeping our eye on all your guys. You never know who the next rock's going to be. You never know. You never know who that's going to be. But as far as the remarks about Gordon, You know, the last time I saw him, we had a big hug and a cocktail, believe it or not.
Yes.
And I thanked him for everything he had done for me. He was my role model, and I just hope that I will always serve his memory well. And the day that I can't is the day that I will move to Oklahoma and get that fishing pole out.
All right, and watch them Sooners, right?
Watch some Sooners play football.
Jim, thank you so much for being with us, and God bless you.
Thank you, buddy. You too. Thank you.
Take care. We've been hanging with Jim Ross.